Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Mike Minotti, your host from GiantBomb.com, filling in for Jeff Grubb, still on vacation. What a lazy bum. Can you believe it? But that's all right. I'm here. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the future of id, Obsidian, and more fun fallout from Xbox's shit show.
Oh,
It's
and
going to be
I'm assuming they're all good. If we're talking about their future, it's because things are looking good.
Gonna be
Sorry,
going because we have Lex Luddy on the show. Lex, how are you doing?
I've been living in the woods for the past few weeks. Care to catch me up on what's been going on?
No, oh gosh, it's bad. It's yeah, Xbox has done a thing, and there's lots of other things. I mean, I suppose it's made it easy for me to have things to talk about on the show this week because there's just constant fallout from those layoffs, those studios splitting off, and I mean, look, this isn't necessarily true, but it looks like for some of those studios, getting split off or getting sold somewhere else or getting to go independent might have been preferable to what's happening to some of these other studios.
Mike, I will go a step further and say that it was definitely preferable for some of these studios.
Yeah. So it's rough out there. We'll get into it, but how are you doing, Lexi?
I'm doing okay. I've been reviewing Assassin's Creed. I need to roll credits on that. I'm on like the
We have a
final
fun
mission.
story about that one coming up
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I feel good about that one. And I my superstation works, so fuck you. Yeah, turns out you just have to be smart, and then you can get it working.
It's broken. It's broken. I need a new one.
I'm pretty sure it's user error, Mike. Let's be real. Come on. Taki Udon worked very hard on this hardware.
I'm so mad about this. So at least I've been too busy this week to even have to worry about it, so that's okay.
What will cheer you up is the one game that I've actually put a little bit of time into is Parasite Eve, and that game rules. Turns out that game's awesome.
So I want to talk about Parasite Eve, but first I see an interesting message from Sean saying Lexi's leaving out how many times she's messaged me about it. Oh yeah, did you have to get a little tech support from Sean there? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas you needed your brother. Mine's less embarrassing.
Oh, so easy. Yeah. Hey, Parasite Eve absolutely rules. If you like PS1 games, you haven't played that one because I played that within the last year, and God, it still feels so unique and fresh despite being a 1998 weird mix of survival horror and RPG mechanics. God, that game is just cool, man. It is just neato. It's neato,
Yeah.
damn it.
Remember when video games could be neato? They didn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. They could just be niche.
Yeah, we need more neato video
I will
games.
say, Capcom have kept that spirit alive with like Pragmata. So credit where credit's due. You know, they had Kunitsugami, which like
that's a neato game.
That's a neato game. Let's bring back neato games.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna make a company called Neato Games. Actually, I like this now. All right, everyone. Before we get into things, let's explain ourselves. Be sure to go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member, get access to some exclusive shows like This Is the Run, Sewer Shark, 9 Lives of Mr. Mustafa Fleas, and
I feel like you add an extra syllable to that every time you say
Mr. Mustafa Fleas. Because that's the name, right? It's not Mistopheles, just like the character from Cats. It's Fleas because it's a pun. It's an extra pun on top of it. I do believe is what's. I watched that show. I kind of know what's going on. So yeah, they made a. Oh, I guess I shouldn't say any spoilers, but they make very interesting, very handsome characters in that show. Most weekdays, Jeff Grubb will help piece your game life back together. This is not most weekdays. You get me, Mike Minotti. That includes breaking news, maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get input from a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you're watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game S Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, LuTube. We have a lot to get into, so let's start the show with big questions for Microsoft's intentions for id Software. This is by Dean Takahashi at GamesBeat, who said the team at id Software seemed safe from the Xbox layoffs as the studio hadn't been notified that it was up for closure or sale. But about half of the Microsoft-owned game studio was laid off on Monday as Xbox announced 3,200 current and pending layoffs across all of Xbox. At least 92 of 185 full-time employees or so were cut, more than 50% of the staff, according to what and I is Dean Takahashi in this case, heard. But that came as a surprise to many, considering the pioneering studio had one of the biggest properties in the Xbox hit portfolio in the reinvigorated Doom franchise. Those former employees say the travesty of the Xbox layoffs done in a rush are evident in who was chosen when the X came. The bloodbath, said one former employee. I was blindsided by it, the scale of it. And then kind of talking about what they could be up to now, Dean notes, no one appears to be working on Quake. There was a codenamed Fury, which was a project that game director and studio co-director Hugo Martin proposed in the past as an original intellectual property that omits a sci-fi noir in Louisiana and Chicago gangsters, had a modern cyberpunk-like feel. It had a concept called Gun Fu, combined gunplay and martial arts. The game was supposed to feel a lot like a John Wick movie, but it was not formally greenlit for production. The team was also considering doing a game based on Perfect Dark, so when they canceled the other,
they've never tried that before.
Right, so they're like, we can make Perfect Dark, I guess. I don't think we're getting a Perfect Dark game ever again, if not just anytime soon. Still another candidate was a Western-style robot game with a focus on survival, dubbed Ironwood. It was akin to the world of Westworld. And as far as Doom goes, there were proposals to do multiplayer co-op and more DLC. And then I've seen, there's been other reporting and other murmurings online that like it's been a lot of the people who work on id Tech, like the engine, that stuff that are going to let go. So it's like, oh gosh, is id going to use Unreal Engine in the future instead of id Tech? There's worries that is id getting relegated to a support studio at this size? I don't know. How do you read this? What do you think is id Software's future, Lex?
So, I think the big takeaway from this is, one, it's a fucking travesty. The idea of, having id Software and id Tech and that much institutional knowledge and that many people who are the best at their craft in the industry working on games and working together on a cutting-edge engine that people genuinely really like and, was poised to be quite a good independent engine should Xbox ever need to use an internal engine, which, hey, based off the sounds of Unreal Engine 6, that might be a useful thing to have in your back pocket coming up. But also, it speaks to the disorganization of these cuts and how they have just been focusing on depth and experience. These are some of the most tenured people at Xbox game studios, and I think that those are the people that, if you've been keeping up with it, a lot of people at Microsoft have basically stocks that vest, and that's how they retain staff, is the longer you stay there, the more you get when you leave. And so it seems like a lot of people who have been cut have been pretty senior, and the way that Xbox or the Asher Sharma and management have framed this is, we're getting rid of layers of management. The way that it looks, if you browse LinkedIn and you look at the people who are now looking at for work, and you look at the warn notices of jobs that have been affected, these are people who are working on the games day to day. It's not a bunch of middle management people sitting around doing nothing, firing emails back and forth, not actually working on the game. It is people with fundamental knowledge of how things work and how to ship video games, which apparently Microsoft is still in the business of doing. They claim they claim that they still want to have exclusive video games for their next console, which will cost you over $1,000 probably, and they need you to want to buy that for some fucking reason, and the only reason they could do that is with exclusives. And also, it just seems disorganized, because machine games so far as we know, has not been affected by these layoffs. They might be in that next group of layoffs, the further 1,600 that's hanging over everyone.
Right, which is
again,
the other half of it all,
yeah,
right?
like we're not fucking done. And the people working at machine games use id Tech. That is what they build their games on, is id Tech. And so now all the engineers that work on id Tech and facilitate things like Indiana Jones and the Wolfenstein games, which we know there's a new Wolfenstein game in development, probably on id Tech, all those fucking engineers are no longer there to pick up the phone and answer when they have a question. So, Mike,
yeah,
I've been thinking a lot about this. Matt Booty was the head of Xbox Game Studios in the Phil Spencer era. He is now the chief operating officer. In a lot of the way that things have been positioned by Microsoft, he has been kind of put forth as Asha Sharma's, expert in the gaming field to guide her.
right.
Is he just really fucking stupid?
Right, because it's like you
Does
bring
he
in
just
an
have no idea
outsider.
what any of the studios do, and he's
Right.
just blindly cutting? Because he's the guy who should be like saying stop. He's the guy who should be saying like, no, this is too close to the bone. You can't cut these people.
Right, like, because obviously, just first off, cutting these people and laying them off when you're a multi-billion-dollar company is disgusting. The idea of id making games in Unreal is offensive, right? Like, maybe I'm old, maybe I'm just an old person. That's disgusting. What the hell are you talking about? How does somebody not explain that to? If Ash Sharp doesn't understand because she's a bit of an outsider, bro, and woo, then Matt Booty better explain that and how awful it is.
And like, Mike, to some extent, it is a fuddy-duddy thing, but also it's a fuddy-duddy thing that like people at these companies care about. People working at id are proud to use id Tech, and telling them that they're moving off of id Tech because they don't have any engineers left is not going to boost fucking morale at that studio. It's not going to make them more efficient to have to skill up on a new tool set after they've spent the last decade making a trilogy on a different tool set. Like, what? That's the thing. Is all of these cuts do not have fucking direction. You look for any logic and any semblance of sense in them, and there is none. It is the things that the people that they are cutting are the people that you would need to ship these video games. It's not like cutting junior positions and PR and all these different things that you could maybe, get hired out to an external partner or something. It's cutting people fundamental to like the process of organizing and coming up with the fucking ideas of these games.
And some big reason why that recent Doom trilogy feels so good is because they made a really good engine. They made an engine that is suitable for these kind of action-based first-person games. And to lose that, it's just going to be weird. I mean, supposedly the part of the strategy is they're going to focus on their biggest franchises. Is Doom?
Including Wolfenstein and Quake and Doom were in that list.
Right. And that list, like I'm so confused about that Quake thing. Because like that wasn't in the Asher Sharma memo. That was in like reporting, I think, by Jason Schreier. And I'm like, where did Quake come from? Because it doesn't seem like anybody cares about Quake. I care about Quake. To me, the most obvious thing in the world is to just have id make a new Quake game. Doesn't seem like that's happening. If you want to play it super safe and just have them make a new Doom game, I guess there's that too. But is it not going to be on id Tech? It's just weird. These are massive layoffs for a studio that has only ever done good work. They've been producing at a time when, some of these other studios would be like, oh, well, they haven't released many games, or were they even received that well? That's just not the case for id at all.
Three games in 10 years is very impressive bashing for a studio of that size, which was also working on its own proprietary engine. Like, that is extremely efficient workflow. And to be a little bit selfish here, there's also a part of me that is like, I think something that people lose sight of in this is we talk a lot about the projects that get cancelled, and the things that we won't get to play now. And that is like a very real, tangible thing that we can be like, yeah, we would have had that and now it's not there. And that feels like a thing that's gone. But all of these layoffs happen to scenes and communities and groups of people, and it decimates the local industry. Without going too much into detail, Romero Games was being financed by Xbox for that game,
Right.
and it was a huge boon for the Irish industry. People were excited about it. Everyone felt good about it because that was a really exciting project to have in the region. That money disappeared, and that project changed massively, and a lot of that team had to change too because the money just wasn't the same by nature of nobody else has the same coffers as Microsoft. And like that set back the space. People feel that in the Irish game dev community, and people remember that in this space. And I think that like if you're gonna be Asher and you're gonna be making these calls, you need to be aware that like ultimately the people that you're laying off are probably going to be people who have to be your partners down the road at some point if you stay in this fucking business. At some point, you're going to have to work with Tim Schafer again, because it turns out that guy's pretty fucking popular in the industry.
Mhm.
Like, turns out he does a lot of stuff, and people have a pretty high opinion of him. And so, like, it just seems like this insane burning of goodwill at every single front. And then occasionally and we'll get onto it, they'll throw out something like the Obsidian Fallout thing, which again is something that I've seen people mainly on Twitter be like, about damn time, I've been waiting for this, they should have done this years ago. And one, yeah, that's fucking right. But two, like, do you think that any of the people working at that studio now are going to be in a good headspace? Are going to feel supported? They just lost 52 of their close friends who work at that studio. And like, you know, they had the project that they wanted to work on, or the two projects, in this case, Avowed and Josh Sawyer's new IP, have both been shelved. And they've been told they're going on to Fallout, which I'm sure there is a certain amount of like, yeah, I would love to work on Fallout. Everyone would love to work on Fallout. But like, these people were putting themselves into a piece of ash, and now you've just been like, actually, no, fuck you. I don't know how you create good games out of this environment. And that's what, like, ultimately, that's what Xbox needs. It doesn't need a lot of games, it needs good games. And it needs games that will get people to buy a fucking Xbox. Because apparently they're in the market of selling hardware still, at least according to them. And so, like, how the fuck you meant to make a good game in these conditions?
Also, it just released that expansion for Doom: The Dark Ages like a couple days ago.
Literally yesterday they released that, or 2 days ago they released that expansion.
It just feels like that unfortunately got like kind of overshadowed by all of this stuff, and I bet that also feels pretty terrible. All right, so yeah, let's talk about Obsidian, because this is from Andy Robson at VGC. Obsidian cancels Avowed 2 to focus on new Fallout. That's according to Bloomberg, which claims that studio design director Josh Sawyer will helm the new project after shifting over from another planned RPG, which is said to have been similar structurally and thematically to Fallout. According to report, progress on Avowed 2 was going well, and it was on track to be announced within the next year. However, it did not fit with Xbox CEO Asher Sharma's new strategy. The shift comes as part of a major reset at Obsidian's parent company, Xbox, which plans to lay off thousands of workers and refocus on its biggest franchises. Around a quarter of Obsidian's workforce is said to have lost their jobs this week as part of the cuts. According to a WARN notice in California seen by GameFile, Obsidian is losing 52 workers, including 43 based in its California offices and 9 in-state remote workers. In a Bloomberg interview with Obsidian head Fergus Urquhart published earlier this year, it was implied that Grounded 2 was a big hit for the studio, but neither The Outer Worlds 2 nor Avowed met sales expectations. I mean, look, I was one of those people who were talking about, Lexi, where I think years ago, I'm like, why don't you just have Obsidian make the Fallout game? We're always going to get here. We kind of had to, because it just never was going to be acceptable for an Xbox, or frankly for a lot of people, that Bethesda was going to make Starfield for 7-8 years, more than that, then make Elder Scrolls for 7-8 years, more than that, and then they'll get to Fallout 5, right?
I agree with you, but I think that like the fact that it's a panic button is the problem.
Right.
Like this isn't
maybe
people
they should have
coming to
been
this.
thought out more carefully before, and not part as this big panic thing where maybe suddenly somebody was like, I'm sure Bethesda didn't want this, right? I think it's and it's an assumption, but I think it's safe to assume that for a while Bethesda's like, we're gonna make the Fallout, and we're gonna get there when we get there, and they maybe had enough cachet to force that point. I think maybe finally there was, I don't know, pushback a one saying like, no, we're giving it to Obsidian. And it doesn't matter what you think about that.
Yeah, and I think like you have it's a very different way to come to the project. You know, you come to the project as we're working on this thing because we want to be working on it, or you come to the project because it's make or break, and if we don't make a smash hit, we're all out of a fucking job. Like that's the situation they've been put in now. And weirdly enough, that's not usually how you get great art. I think like Fallout New Vegas is maybe the exception that proves that rule, where all those people talk about that game as if it was a fucking war, and they like speak about like they would never do it again and they'd never wish it upon their greatest enemies to go through that game's development cycle. And you're just putting them down the barrel of another harrowing development cycle. And like, for as much as people can put Nintendo on a pedestal, like, people at Nintendo feel like they are going to get pay rises if they stay there. And they don't feel like they're going to be pushed out like this, you know? And that manifests in the games where people are happy going to work. It's a fucking insane concept, Mike. Have you ever heard of this? Being happy going to work and producing good work?
That sounds wild. What if instead you cancel your game and you're forced to do what they tell you to? You know, if there is a loyal soldier at Xbox, boy, has it been Obsidian, who's actually been able to release a lot of video games, including things like Grounded, which is done really well for them.
Maybe the only studio that like successfully fulfilled the Game Pass mandate of populating the service with multiple different games in different genres for different types of players, and like the reward is a quarter of them are laid off.
So yeah, we're probably never gonna see another Avowed. We're probably never gonna see another Outer Worlds again. I think it's a shame.
If you haven't played those games and you can get them for cheap, maybe without giving Microsoft money, go check them out, because they're both excellent. They're both really, really good. Outer Worlds 2 was one of my favorite games last year.
Do you know, because I don't want to be like, this is, I'm not trying to like pass some blame onto consumers here, but I was always a little shocked that Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 weren't bigger hits. I played those games, I'm like, wow, I bet all the people who like those Bethesda games are going to really like that. And I would just see a lot of them be like, this isn't quite there for me, or this is missing that, or the writing's not as good. And I'm like,
so like, here's the problem. For a video game to sell well, you need to do this thing called market it.
That would probably help, huh?
And Xbox kind of fucking gave up on that for anything that wasn't Call of Duty last year, if you remember. Basically, nothing got marketing money except for Call of Duty. Do you remember how little marketing there was for that Senua game? Do you remember us all sitting around and being like, hey, that Senua game's out in a week and there's been like no
right. It's like, aside from like showing up at like, their showcases.
Their own showcases.
That was basically about it. I kind of feel like we're in a bit of a post Starfield world in some ways with a lot of these studios, where at that time you were still able to make the argument of, hey, we know we're known for these big franchises. We're going to try something new here, and maybe it's going to be a new pillar. And that game didn't really do particularly well, wasn't received particularly well, and it kind of got them off of their schedule again by like a decade, to a point now where a lot of people are going to look at that and be like, and I think that's where we got to focus on our big franchise things is coming from, where we can't afford for you guys to experiment with something new. That means we're not going to get another Fallout or whatever for another decade. It's at a point now where,
and we especially can't afford for you to experiment because we have less studios now.
right, and I just at this point I would expect Bethesda's next game after Elder Scrolls 6 to just be Elder Scrolls 7, right? I think it's just going to they might just become exclusively an Elder Scrolls studio, which is kind of where they once were once upon a time. So uh yeah, that's where we are. I do think it's a shame. I like to vow, and I bet that they can make a good Fallout game. They've made the best Fallout game, probably Obsidian did, and this is a decision that always made sense.
Speaking of people who have, like carried the cross for and like done the dirty work, Josh Sawyer and the extended team at like Obsidian, the work that they have done on different like Skunkworks projects and getting things like Avowed was in development for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard stories of what that game was originally going to be, and it was a very fucking different game, and it came out and it was fucking good. That doesn't happen often.
Right. And it was good. God, that was good. I don't know. Yeah, play those video games. All right. Let's take a quick break. We got more fun stuff to get into right after this. All right. Here's another fun headline. This one's from Tom Phillips at IGN. The Elder Scrolls 6 will suffer because of Xbox layoffs, Bethesda staff say, fearing delays, crunch, and generational talent being replaced by contractors.
This is just the Hannibal Buress meme of him shooting, or Eric Andre shooting Hannibal Buress, and Eric Andre being like, why would Bethesda do this to us?
Why would Bethesda do this? This week's devastating Xbox layoffs will have a substantial and cascading effect on Bethesda's development of Elder Scrolls 6. Multiple staff at the studio have told IGN, speaking of condition of anonymity to protect their careers. Anonymity, Current and former staff have told me that job losses across Bethesda Game Studio locations have removed more than 50 employees, including key, high-performing people in the trenches, building the company's long-awaited Skyrim successor. This, in turn, they say, has shattered morale, raised the risk of future development crunch, and increased the likelihood that the game's already far off completion date will be delayed. Such is the strength of feeling among the tight-knit Bethesda team that on social media, photos have been shared of multiple makeshift celebration of service memorials displayed within the company's offices in Dallas, Texas, and Rockville, Maryland. These feature framed photographs of laid-off workers arranged in the studio's common areas alongside bouquets of flowers. At least one of these displays has now been dismantled under orders of the company's HR department.
I bet that fucking HR rep is going to be popular at Christmas.
Yeah.
They're gonna the Christmas mixer is gonna be. They're gonna have a great time.
Elder Scrolls 6 to me has to be the most high priority project happening within almost any studio that Xbox owns, right? Like maybe outside of their Call of Duties and things like that. Elder Scrolls 6 is a big deal. If that hits, that's going to be important for them. The idea that you would still even lay off people working on that game. And it's not, and again,
also,
the layoffs themselves are terrible.
Like, BGS, not a massive team.
Right.
Like 50 people is a lot, especially when they like share some amount of people who are still working on support for Starfield, as far as I know. That game's still getting like patches and updates. I know they're done with their main DLC. But like BGS also oversees a lot of the ports. They're porting that Oblivion game, so like there were probably people touching or the Oblivion thing to Switch. So like they have multiple irons in the fire. They're not a one game studio. They're focused on that one game, but
they're
like,
about to be. I think they're about to be.
Yeah. So like again, you're right. Like other than keeping Minecraft going and keeping Call of Duty popular, what could be a higher profile game for Xbox right now than the Elder Scrolls? And apparently that can't save you. And like, again, the other part of all this, the people who are left there still don't know if that's it. They don't know if there's going to be a second wave involving their company because the communication has been so shitty. Mike, I'm not sure if you've heard this. Clarity is a kindness.
Hmm.
I read that somewhere. It was really informative. And so like the fact that these people don't know if they're going to be part of a second wave still is like it's the equivalent of like mental warfare. Like it's the kind of shit that you would do in the Deer Hunter to fuck with someone.
Right. Gosh. Again, Bethesda, Elder Scrolls 6. Again, it's got to be the most important thing. And still years off, and this is a game that I can't remember when they announced it. So I remember when they announced it, and people at that time were like, "This game's not coming out till 2022." I was like, "That's crazy! Come on, they wouldn't announce it if it's going to take that long."
Remember that online E3 where Post Malone was like, "What are we gonna see? Elder Scrolls 6? I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe."
Yeah, chat
That
saying
feels so fucking quaint.
right, 2018 it was announced. I mean, 2028 seems like the earliest we could see this game. That's almost being to sound optimistic.
I would put money on that game not coming out before like 2029.
I mean, that game could come out in the 30s, which I hate to say, but like it could.
Yep.
It could. All right. Fired Marathon director says he settled a lawsuit with Sony and been inserted into the credits by Andy Robinson of VGC. The former Marathon director, Christopher Barrett, says he has ended a lawsuit against Bungie and PlayStation and had his name inserted to the game's credits as part of the settlement. Barrett, who was the original director of this year's marathon, had his employment terminated by Bungie in 2024 after more than 25 years at the company for misconduct. In court documents, Sony alleged that Barrett had sent inappropriate messages to female employees. Barrett denied the claims and called the investigation that led to his firing a sham. Barrett later sued Bungie and its parent company, Sony Interactive Entertainment, accusing it of defamation and breach of contract. Notably, he alleged that Sony fired him in order to avoid paying him more than $45 million in bonuses generated from its 2022 purchase of the studio. Writing on social media, the game designer wrote that he was pleased to share that Sony, Bungie, and I have reached an agreement to resolve the lawsuit.
Is this like the closest we get to a good news story now?
I don't know, because I think because again, this guy, there's the misconduct and the inappropriate messages people plays, and it seems like this guy maybe sucks and got paid. So no, probably not good.
Yeah.
Man. In fact, let's move on. Oh no. Next one. Ubisoft Barcelona celebrates
the stars are here.
Ubisoft Barcelona celebrates successful Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced launch with Layoffs. This is by Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming. Despite Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced being considered a successful launch by Ubisoft, 51 employees at Ubisoft Barcelona, many of whom worked on the game, will be celebrating its launch by seeking new employment. Announced on June 10th, 51 employees at Barcelona faced layoffs, with those who spoke to Insider Gaming saying the layoffs felt premeditated. Were going to happen no matter how successful Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced was. That's because Ubisoft tends to assign a new project to teams well before they complete the current project, sometimes a year in advance. However, despite the Barcelona team raising concerns about not being assigned a new project as far back as summer 2025, no such assignment was a given. According to those familiar with how Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced performed prior to launch, the game was highly successful in terms of interest and pre-orders. We also know now that the game has gotten really good reviews. Yet just days after completing all of its work on Black Flag Resynced, the Barcelona team was disbanded with 51 employees laid off. What the hell? I know it's a thing for some of these studios to be like, well, you always downsize a bit after a project. This is the first one of these kind of Assassin's Creed remakes. There are so many other games in that franchise that you could just point this team to do next. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood are beloved. They got those bad remasters. Give that treatment to those games. Or Syndicate is another one that people really like. You can go and do that. They
Or
seem to
like
make
maybe
there's so
make
much.
3 a good game.
I like 3. Oh, it's a problem of mine. But look,
Yeah, Mike, you like American history. We know this about you.
I do. I like
Of course.
American colonial history. Okay, that's
My
interesting.
Assassin's Creed 3 is the Mickey Mouse of Assassin's Creed games, and so of course you like it.
I don't know what you mean by that, but agree. Uh, right. Uh, all right. So I don't. Yeah, this one just seems bananas to me because it looks like Black Flag Resynced is going to do very well. And
Yep.
yes,
I mean, I will say it is at mostly negative reviews on Steam right now, and that is mostly around people are very unhappy with the DLC
of
with this
course,
game,
of
which
course.
is
So it's
kind of
fucking.
part
Oh
and
my
parcel with a
god.
Ubisoft game.
Right. So
So
yeah. So they made a good game, and now it's gonna get fucking sabotaged on Steam and other places because the fucking publisher can't help itself with that stupid bullshit. What I think it was yesterday we were talking about the college football game adding more DLC into its stuff and getting those people upset too. It's never fucking enough with these things. What DLC do
so
we even need in Black Flag? It's a single player pirate RPG. What are the? I don't even want to know what you're buying.
Mike, this is something that's going to come up in my review. It's the dumbest shit. It's the Hellfire Naval Pack and the Sea Serpent Character Pack. You know, those very piratey looking things that have literal flames on them like they're magic.
Yeah.
So it's something I've talked about a few times on Blue Sky. This is something you're going to see a lot more of over the next few years. You start with like EA patenting or starting up a whole initiative to add dynamic ads into their games. You have even seen it with Nintendo finding ways to re-up previously released games up to $80, you know, with the Xenoblade remake or remasters and things like that. All of these companies are finding major and minor ways to increase the price of things ever so slightly again and again and again, because they are all panicking that like right now they're looking at the numbers and young people aren't buying consoles because of course they're not. They're almost $1,000.
Yeah.
So the
I'm sure
market
that
isn't
problem will
growing.
get solved real soon.
Yeah, so the market isn't growing, and if the market isn't growing, the only way to make more money is to monetize the people who are there. And in an even grimmer sense, at some point that market's going to start to shrink as people get old. And people stop playing video games because they have arthritis and they die. And these companies will just keep on trying to increase the, you know, Grubb has talked about the K-shaped economy. That's what this is. That's what this looks like in motion. That's how this calcifies and forms. I hear anecdotal stories of like my godson is like young and he has a Nintendo Switch and he loves his Switch. And so I'm like, yes, there's still young people that want to play video games, that want to play actual real deal video games and not just fucking Roblox. But most of the market has managed to create an ecosystem that is incredibly hostile towards a low barrier to entry for both young people and people that don't have a lot of like money to throw around at these hardware devices. And it's a problem. It's a legitimate problem of how do you get people in at the bottom end so that you can make fans when they're young, and then maybe when they get older and they have jobs and they have disposable income, they will spend money on your games.
All the DLC, if you bought all of it right now for this game, it is $84.91. So it would cost more than the actual video game. And it's a bunch of the map pack. What the hell is a map pack? What do you mean?
Well, everything on the map they tell you where everything is.
That's the game. If you're playing Assassin's Creed, I got bad news for you. That's the game, is that you explore the map. That's what you signed up for with these things.
I didn't agree to that. Come on.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They're just going to continue to try to monetize that super engaged hardcore audience, and more of them are going to be turned off by it and just continue to wait for sales, play old games. And boy, old games now are games that are 10 years old and don't look any worse or play any worse than games today because we've had stagnation in so many parts of the industry as well. Whoop-de-doo. Next up, you can now try one of Nintendo's best Switch 2 games for free. This is also by Andy Robson at VGC. Nintendo has released a free demo for its Switch 2 platformer.
This is literally the good feel news
There we
story.
go. Yeah, it's a demo for the Yoshi game. It's a demo for Yoshi Mysterious Book. Available now in the Nintendo eShop. The demo allows users to try out the first chapter of the game, with all progress able to be carried over to the full game should you wish to purchase it. Developed by traditional modern Yoshi studio Good Feel, Yoshi Mysterious Book was released for Switch 2 in May. Introduces a puzzle twist to the platformer. I feel like this isn't the first time Nintendo does this thing where a demo for a game comes out a good bit after release. What do you think that strategy is? Do you think that's always kind of baked into the plan? You don't think, is it a sign that like, oh, maybe this is underperforming, let's release the demo and see if we can get some more people interested in this one?
It might not even be that's underperforming. It might just literally just be, let's see if we can get more people interested in this in a second wave. Because like that's so much of games marketing now, is how do you create waves? You know, how do you create waves of interest? And like the most common one is put it on sale. And Nintendo doesn't put things on sale. So the easiest lever for them to pull is to, you know, do an event or to have some kind of news story around the game. And there's a demo for this game is something that will get picked up as a news story. And so they may as well do that after the game releases rather than before it does, because like ultimately the people who are going to buy that game day one are kind of the people who are going to buy that game day one. Whereas people who might, you know, be kind of interested, not that they will wait and see, even if the demo comes out before the game, they will still wait and see for reviews. They will still wait and see for impressions. So like they may as well wait in some ways.
And Chad, thank you for reminding me. It was Donkey Kong Bonanza that also sort of had this months later demo treatment, and that game was probably always selling well. So yeah, I bet you're right. It's just about that second wave. And hey, this game's neat. I like this game a lot more than I thought I was going to. So if you are curious about this one, check out that demo. Your progress will carry over to the full game. Getting to play the first chapter, that's going to give you a pretty good idea of what the game is about. All right, Persona 4 Revival producer confirms some noteworthy character changes are coming. This is by Heidi Klemps at GameSpot. Speaking to Anime Corner, Wada from the team discussed some changes would be made to parts of the game, particularly with regard to one specific character. We haven't changed anything core about the character, says Wada, but we're just sort of brushed up the kinds of concerns to make sure it all fits and really is appropriate for the characters and for the age that we live in now. We haven't really changed anything about the story of the characters' thoughts or how they act. We just changed the way we express some of this a little bit, mostly with Yosuke, really. He's a little bit insensitive in terms of how he treats outsiders sometimes. I just want to point out the outsiders they're talking about are trans people and fat people. We went to lighten that up and make it a little more fitting for the world that we live in now. He goes on to confirm that other hot topic social links for characters like Kanji and Naoto will not be altered at base. Yosuke has been criticized for being somewhat abrasive with some of his comments and actions. Comic players as homophobic. Yep. While some players see his attitude and words as rather typical of a teenager struggling with themselves, others have found him to be repellent. It's understandable why the team might want to rein Yosuke in a little.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting insofar as they also had to do this for Persona 3. And their solution for Persona 3 was, let's just not include the scene where we're transphobic. And so I'm curious if they actually try to deal with the problem of the character at hand and actually readdress them, or if they just cut around it again. So I don't know. Like
in this game, it's a bit more core to the story with what goes on with Kanji. So I hope that I hope they're more thoughtful than that. Like, I am glad I love Persona 4. Yosuke was pretty freaking awful. You just don't like that character really when you're playing that. Even on top of like that, he's kind of whiny and pathetic, and a lot of those Persona best friend characters often sort of actually suck, and I don't like them. I think they did a little work with Junpei in 3 to make Junpei a bit better. Junpei is probably already the best of them. I don't know. But hey, yeah, edit the shit out of that. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Don't be like, don't worry. I'm not that
like
concerned
they're not,
about like the original intent and things like that.
and they're not being precious with a lot of the rest of the game. Like it's a completely redone battle system. It's a completely redone art style. So like, yeah, why not actually change parts of the story if you're remaking the entire game from scratch? And also, like, yeah, I would like this to be better. I would.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And again, like I like Persona 4 and I want Revival to kind of be like the new definitive version of that game. What we've seen so far, I think it looks promising. All right. Last one here. Just a note that former VG 24/7 editors launched a new publication called Respec, also by Andy Robinson, VGC. The former editorial leadership of British publication VG 24/7 have founded a new games brand, Respec, which they say will offer a new independent voice in increasingly shrinking games media. Respec is news, reviews, and features site managed by former VG 24/7 editor, chief and Euro gamer editorial director Tom Ori, and former VG 24/7 editor at large and RPG site owner Alex Donaldson. So yeah, look, there you go. Another independent games media website is
Yeah.
out there.
And I can vouch for both those people. They're both good people. I've met Alex and hung out with Alex at a handful of events, and he's one of the most knowledgeable people in this space, and one of the most experienced too at this point as well. So it's very good to see him trying to get more voices out there and try to get more good shit published.
All righty, that does it for our headlines. Why don't we get to the polls, including the poll from yesterday, where I asked everybody, have you played Mario Kart Tour? How about you, Lex? Did you play Mario Kart Tour for mobile devices?
Mike, you know how you put the secret third option in there in this poll?
Maybe I can't remember. Yeah, that was for me.
Yeah, that's where I fall to. I think I did. I have a friend at Start Menu who this was their daily mobile game, and they played it every single day for like years and years and years. And like at some point they added a horizontal mode to that. You can play it horizontally now,
Oh.
like you'd actually want to. It's very weird that they're not doing the $10 standalone thing for this game, because they did it for Mario Run and they did it for Happy Home Designer. So
they did for Pocket Camp, right? Yeah, Animal Crossing. So
yeah, sorry, Pocket Camp. Yeah, and so it's very strange that they're not doing it for this one. I assume their logic behind it is, hey, all those tracks are in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But that's a bad logic.
Yeah, it's really freaking weird. Like one thing I was about the game had some neat costumes. Even just being able to kind of, I don't know, pay and race around in some of those costumes, that might be neat.
I don't know, Dr. Baby Waluigi was fucked up. I would not allow that.
No, that's good.
I would not allow that motherfucker to operate on me. That guy does not have a license to practice medicine.
Dan absolutely would. Dan would be like, heart transplant, the baby Waluigi? Hell yeah, let's go for it.
Head transplant, let's do it.
So, we asked the community if they play Mario Kart Tour. 61% just said no. 28% said yes. And 12% said maybe. I can't remember. So we're not alone.
Way bigger. Yeah, that is a not insignificant part of the pie chart there. That's over a tenth of people maybe having played that game but genuinely can't remember.
Right. And we've got a new poll here, and I forgot to put a question mark in it, and that's going to haunt me, but here we go. Are you excited for a new Fallout game from Obsidian? Your choices are yes, no, or not under the circumstances. So, there you go. All righty. Lexi, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything you want to shout out or point people towards?
Go follow me on Blue Sky, lexluddy.xyz. I was on the Nextlander podcast yesterday. So go check that out. Those folks are lovely. We only made fun of you for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure it was off air.
Oh, I was about to say, I like when people talk about me, but now I can't even hear it. So, like, what the hell's the point? Damn it.
I actually I think some of it was on air. I told them about
good.
you having a very bad Gamescom when we hung out in the press room that one time.
Oh, my Crohn's pain. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still have
And
some of
then you
those.
took the good German drugs, and you were suddenly very, very good.
Yeah, that's really interesting when I went to the German drugstore after that, and like was like, "Do you guys have these?" And I just bought a bunch, and I still have some at home because they aren't FDA approved. You can't buy them here. But yeah, I got some Buscopan Plus or whatever that I take in emergencies still. And oh yeah, people are going to Gamescom. I might tell them to get me some. Just go to the drugstore, pick me up some more.
I love that, like, some people are like, oh, if you're going to Japan, pick me up some, like, used games. You're like, pick me up the Crohn's drugs.
Right, which are like, I think they're primarily more for like menstrual problems, right? But it's all just gut cramps and things like that. So hey, it works out for Mikey's. All right, everybody, we still have some fun stuff coming up on Giant Bomb this week. Voicemail dump truck, that's happening later today at 1 p.m. Eastern. Will Crosby's going to be making his dump truck debut, everybody.
Speaking of Gamescom.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. We'll be there. I enjoyed Gamescom when I was there that year. Definitely was a good time. It's a big trip. It's a big trip.
It's a big trip.
Mm-hmm. But it's fun. Lots of I really like Kolsch beer, so that part of it was always nice. Tomorrow, everybody, I'll be back. Game S Mornings with Jason Finelli tomorrow. Let's see what fresh hell awaits us then. And we also have UPF, of course, later in the day. And then a new episode of Sewer Shark, This Is the Run's gonna come out on Saturday. Probably gonna be the run, everybody, right? You see how well I've been doing so far. How could it not be?
You're gonna be playing that game for the next 6 months.
That's fine. I like it. Damn it. I don't care what anyone else says. Sewer Shark's cool. Okay.
That she doth protest too much.
It doesn't make me mad at all. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.